morning, good day. Thank you for tuning in. I'm glad if anyone's watching. I was watching. Oh, look at that. You're not going to be able to hear me while I'm doing the dishes, are you? Well, let's give it a try anyway. I'll just talk louder. Because I got to fill my basin with water so I can wash my dishes. My kombucha failed. I bought a $15 SCOBY starter kit. Left it in there for 7 days. Pulled it out today and it was all moldy. So I don't know. At that point I figure you throw it out and you start over. But I have no SCOBY with which to start over. So that was a heck of a way to start my day. I don't know what I did wrong. I was clean. I don't know. Did dust fall from the ceiling and make it through the cloth? It'd be fine if I could get another SCOBY for free, but I gotta go down to the farmer's market, spend another $15 on a SCOBY. I'm supposed to be trying to save money, not throw money down the toilet or down the compost bin or whatever. So I was listening to Russell Brand. He's got really good podcasts on Radio X on YouTube. You really ought to check them out. And at one point they were talking about humanity. And they were phrasing it as though having an emotion is what makes you human. And I started thinking, you know, I've been hearing that a lot lately, you know. Are you not human? Have you no emotions? It's that emotional state that makes us human. You know, humans have compassion, which is to say emotional response to each other. I thought, well, is that what makes us human? Because my whole life I've been criticized for having emotions. You're too sensitive. You're too emotional. You respond too much. I've seen people criticized for being too angry, for being too unhappy, for feeling emotions. And so it's like, well, is there some line where you're too human? Like, am I too human? And yet I've been told that I'm not human enough because sometimes I can be so cold. You know, oh, if you don't share the emotion, if you don't have the emotions I think you should have, then you do not qualify as a person, and therefore I don't have to treat you with courtesy and respect. Is that really what it means? So I was thinking about that. I mean, last time I checked, what it means to be human is to share the 23 chromosomes that we all share, and yet that doesn't count either, because Down syndrome people have an extra chromosome, and they're still human. I guess they're more human? More human than a human? More human than a human? That's Rob Zombie song about androids. And how, like in Blade Runner, the androids are prevented from becoming emotional by having a 5-year expiration date. So just when their experiences might start to give them a sense of feelings and self, they are terminated, or they die naturally, whichever, you know. And so that's how they're prevented from being human, and then therefore we don't have to give them human rights and consideration. Just recently, someone in Britain, the Tories, some political group in Britain decided that animals don't have feelings. They don't feel pain. Which gets to another topic, pain. Now, emotion is often said to be painful. To feel emotion is to feel pain. And yet, you know, when my back is aching, that's nothing like when I'm unhappy. The two things are completely different. You stick your hand in a fire, does not feel the same as when someone tells you you suck and you don't deserve to live. So, why are they both called pain? Now, I'm talking from a flawed perspective, because in my life, my emotional state has been considered a problem for those around me. That if I display it, that I am to be ostracized and shunted off into a corner, and please go away until you stop displaying emotions. Which has left me in a peculiar position of feeling like I'm not allowed to feel, like I have to have ironclad control over my emotional expression. While the world around me rages and rants and screams and cries and wails and rends its clothing and puts on all manner of emotional displays. And I realize that that's because I was raised by narcissists. People for whom my emotional state was terribly inconvenient because they, it was putting the lie to the abuse that they were giving me, oh so passive-aggressively and politely. It's like, what have you got to feel bad about? You're well-fed. Yeah, well-fed, but not emotionally served. Not given any sense of self, any sense of self-worth or pride or importance. And to this day, I still feel like I'm bloody useless, like the world has no place for me and no use for me, and I'm not allowed to care about that. I'm supposed to be the one who's to blame for that, and if it bothers me, I'm supposed to make it better and make it right, all by myself, without help from others. That's and that dialogue's been changing. There are some really caring and kind people in my world. Often, and generally, they're just as powerless as they've ever been to actually, because, bottom line, only you can fix your problems. But, with the cooperation of your community, who are powerless to do anything. It's a catch-20. It's a real conundrum. You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. But so back to this, what is it to be human? What does it mean to be human? Why is emotion the defining state of human? Have you ever met a human that actually doesn't have emotion? People who are said to have shallow emotions yet somehow manage to display really strong emotions. Take your average sociopath. How do you know they're a sociopath? Well, they don't care about your feelings. And yet they clearly have feelings, because one of the ways that they control the room is through their rages and their emotions. They're the sociopath, classic sociopathic, passive-aggressive mother. There, dear, I'll just sit here and suffer. You don't have to care about me. I know how important your life is to you, and my job is over, and I'm not important anymore. And she's displaying emotion. She's displaying the emotions of rejection, the emotions of sadness and depression. And you're supposed to feel sorry for her. And if you don't, then she will display the emotions of anger. You don't care about me at all. You're so horrible. So, is she inhuman? And why are we saying she doesn't have emotion? And then, you've got your group of people out there with this new phrase, social justice warrior. Oh, you care too much about other people. You don't really mean it. You're standing up there complaining about the plight of other people because you just want attention. Well, okay, what's wrong with wanting attention in the first place? Hello. The guy who's screaming it sure wants attention. I mean, if you didn't want attention, you wouldn't be participating in the dialogue at all. So why is it somehow an insult to say someone wants attention, and then when someone wants attention, then you work twice as hard to deny it them? So what does it mean to be human? Why do we have to define it? Why do we have to state someone is human or inhuman, except to excuse our own self-centered, selfish behavior? As far as I can tell, that's what that's about. It's like, Charles Manson died yesterday. He was inhuman. He was as inhuman. He was the symbol of the kind of person we call human, and we locked him in a cage for the rest of his life. Apparently we must have taken good care of him, because he lived to be, 90, I think? Bloody old. He lived to be very old. And so, was he unhappy? Did we punish him? Or did we merely remove his hazard? Some people say that Charles Manson was in fact a CIA operative, and he didn't really exist as a person, and he wasn't really imprisoned, and he didn't really do all that. And he himself said, geez, maybe I could have made some social change if I'd killed a lot more people, was one of the things he's said to have said. And I'm like, I'm not sure exactly how killing more people helps fix society. It's not like you're going to be able to kill the right people. They are behind very strong walls. They always have been. It's the walls that make the monster. And I think that's that statement right there. Monsters are not, monster as in a person who does not qualify as human, is therefore not attuned to the same, and not entitled to the same emotional compassion for us, because they have behaved in a way of which we disapprove. So he's a monster. He killed all these people. He's a monster. Now we have removed from him his humanity, which is to say, our sense of fairness towards him. We no longer have to care how he feels, what he's going through, and we can be as cruel as our nature dictates. When like the kids at school that bullied the other kid, it's because that kid wasn't a member of their group, therefore they didn't have to care about his feelings. And so that kid wasn't allowed to have feelings. He wasn't allowed to care about how he was treated because he wasn't considered human anymore. And it's a peculiar thing. Why is one genetically similar individual not allowed to feel and another one is? That doesn't make sense. And then you declare that they're in that status because they don't feel. Well, you took away their right to feel. You took away their rights entirely in your head. You judged them as not worthy, and took away from them their right to be the very person you say that's why. Okay, I'm getting convoluted. You say they're not entitled to be treated like a human being because they're behaving like a human being. You hear what I'm saying? Oh, he has too many emotions, so we're going to bully him and tease him and play with his emotions, and then we'll declare, once he finally learns to control those emotions, that he's not human because he's not emotional enough. How about we stop deciding who is and is not entitled to our compassion and sympathy, and instead decide whether or not we can do something for them. And if we can't, I'm sorry. I feel your pain. I understand how you're feeling, but it's out of my hands. Or, I'm sorry. I hear your pain. I feel it. But there are other things that are more important to me, and it's your choice whether to continue speaking to me or whether to be there for me in the future. I am not going to be there for you now. But I dearly hope that someone will be. And leave it at that. If that's actually what you intend to say no to that individual, don't make an excuse. Don't apologize. Don't apologize with an excuse. Apologize with the honest truth. I'm not going to be there for you. Or just shut your mouth and not be there. Why do we have to come up with a reason why that person... I think the reason we have to come up with a reason why that person isn't worthy of our feelings is in order to turn off our own emotions towards them. I've had so much emotion in my life that I don't shy from it. And in fact, I am recently learning that I need to make more of an effort not to go there, not to permit myself to feel what it's like to be in the bottom of Death Valley, to be in the depths of despair. I'm so used to swimming in the depths of despair that it seems like a foreign country I've visited often. And it's not very nice there. I visit the slums of that foreign country. And it's unpleasant as heck, but I'm used to it. And so I think it's fine, but then I come back and discover that I've contracted a disease, the disease of stress in this case, or cancer. I really think that my deep, deep unhappiness over the last 30 years, 20 years, I don't know, decades of deep unhappiness is what gave me cancer. And it's partly my responsibility for not having shied away from the hard questions and the hard feelings, for not having employed all of those tactics that people employ, the tactics of self-deceit and obfuscation and excuse-making and pleasure pursuit. I absorbed the messages of the I don't know the word for it. My society, my culture has been dominated by a cult of self-denial to an extreme degree, especially coming from the Dutch. There's that Protestant work ethic, that Protestant stoicism that's been injected into into my value system to where, a truly good person is so stoic that they never flinch under any amount of pressure. And I have tried hard to be that person. And how do you achieve something? By practicing, right? How does an athlete get stronger? By working through the pain. How does an emotional athlete get stronger? By working through the emotional pain. And I have been putting myself through that all these years, thinking that I was getting stronger. And to a degree, it's true. I believe I am emotionally stronger than anybody I know. More capable of controlling my behavior in the midst of strong emotions and not doing something that I regret later. I still do. The other day I was playing Minecraft and my dog was asking to get up on the couch, and I was in a particularly tricky moment, and I just growled at him to leave me alone. And all he really wanted was for me to move my feet and allow him to get up on the couch. But at that particular moment, I snarled instead of complying. And I regret that. And he's twice as nervous about getting up on the couch with me because he's not sure whether or what mood I'm in right now. Especially if I'm intensely involved in the game, which I'm actually going to stop playing now. I was thinking about it last night, and I was thinking, I'm taking out a whole sea temple on peaceful mode. In the first place, there's absolutely, it has no bragging rights. In the second place, brag to whom? Okay, so I can take out a whole sea temple, and it's intellectually it's an interesting exercise. I'm figuring out how to get the water out of my way, where the goodies are, and how to collect it, how to, it's an intellectual exercise, but beyond that, nothing. Absolutely nothing. There's no value in it. I'm not doing anything or creating anything or providing anything, and I'm not going to get anything from it. I'm not going to get any social approval. I'm not going to impress anybody. Nobody's going to walk around when I've built a house out of these special blocks you can only get from a thing. And even if someone did, they'd be like, "Oh, well, you did it on peaceful mode. Well, that's easy." There's no purpose in the time being spent. And I could be weaving that blanket, which has been giving me grief because I've got broken strands because the wool got chewed on by moths, and so I'm constantly dealing with broken strands and tying little knots, and it gets a little frustrating. It certainly would be a much nicer accomplishment for my winter hours of sitting down all day, inside all day. So to be human is to be emotional. To be emotional is to be annoying. To be annoying is to be human. But to be annoying is to be cast out from human society. So, you're cast out from human society for being too emotional or not emotional enough. Somewhere in the middle where you can display the right amount of emotion towards someone else's problems without actually having any problems of your own or any actual emotional issues yourself is the human ideal. And at that point, the world will open up its arms, give you jobs, money, income, work, take care of you. But you need to be already very well cared for at that point to have that emotional state that's demanded of you. You people really, really are a confused lot of creatures. Would you do me a favor and stop it? Just be kind. Just be polite. Period. Just be kind and polite. You're not always going to give us what we want. Sometimes you're going to be incredibly selfish and just ignore the heck out of us. But could you at least stop being nasty to each other? We'd be so much farther ahead. Just with that. Okay? Quit trolling each other. Bye-bye. Ooh, I get to upload this in one take. Yes. No editing.